Choose life, choose a job, choose a career, choose a family, choose a fucking big television, choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players and electrical cylinders. Choose a podcast, choose the Untitled Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Untitled Film Podcast. As always, I'm your host. My name is Mike.
And I'm Lee. My name is not Quaid.
He's not Quaid tonight, no. This episode, we're going to be talking about the 1990 sci-fi spectacular, Total Recall.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, people will have sat down and watched Total Recall since we've, last sat down and recorded a podcast. That's the whole point of us telling you the next film that we're going to be watching. So hopefully you guys can actually sit down and watch it and know what we're talking about before we ramble on.
This was one of your picks as well. This one,
yeah, this was my pick. Yeah, hopefully we can avoid spoilers considering the film is at this
27 point 28 years, 29-year-old.
1990. So it's almost 30 years old. Yeah. So I think we're way past spoiler territory on this one, because we are going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into this film.
Oh, yeah, I think people know we do that anyway by now.
Yeah, I mean, 1990, I was 9 when this film came out, so it was definitely not a trip to the cinema for me with this one because it was released in the UK as an 18. I do remember the VHS coming into the house, and I do remember sitting down and watching it when I was about 10 or 11 years old, so pretty naughty, but it hasn't done me any... Well, it probably has done some deep psychological harm, but I don't think it's done any kind of harm, in the sense that I'm pretty desensitized to blood and violence and gore and stuff like that now.
Yeah. I think I'm the same, Mike. I think I was racking my brain the other day thinking, when was the first time I watched it? Obviously, I wasn't same age as you. I was about 8 or 9-year-old at the time when it was on, when it got first released, so I was too young to go to cinema and watch it.
Yeah.
So I was racking my brain thinking, when did I watch it? And I think it must have been, I caught it over on TV or something like that. I think we recorded it one night, and then I think my dad said, "Oh yeah, let's record it. It's a good film. This, you'll like it." I was going through a bit of like the Ernie Stallone phase at a later date. I must have been probably about 12 or something like that. First time I watched it and recorded it on TV. I remember the adverts as well. I just paused the adverts up, fast forward them, skip through the adverts, and yeah, we watched it off TV, and I just thought it was a really good film. Really, it's one of Ernie's best films, I think.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I would say this is a classic. I know we were talking on the Get to the Chopper podcast when I guested on that the other week with Andy Godoy on the Starship Troopers episode. Between this, RoboCop, and Starship Troopers, I think that those are like Verhoeven's sci-fi trilogy, and I think every one of those films are, classics in their own way. Starship Troopers has got a few issues here and there with the cast, but I think the film stands up as a classic of sci-fi. Total Recall, I would go as far as to say it's probably a masterpiece in my eyes because of it's quite a simple. You sit and watch the film on one level, and it's just kind of like a typical Arnie action flick. You know what I mean? And it's as dumb as what you would think. But then if you start scratching the surface and actually watch the film and pay a little bit more attention to the story, then there's a little bit more meat to the bones.
Yeah, a bit more to it than the typical Arnie film. It's not just a case of him running around, kicking ass, showing them flexing the muscles. There's a little bit more to it in there. Yeah,
there is, and there's something that I want to get into later on. Once we've got into the podcast a little bit deeper. But obviously the theory surrounding is the film or is the story like a dream or a reality? Because there's a lot to get into with that kind of stuff. So yeah, I remember watching it on VHS, and then as soon as I was old enough, it was a case of when I start buying my own, videos and then later DVDs and stuff like that. It was one of those must-haves, when you've got your own money in your pocket and you're going into the, the DVD shop or the music shop or wherever you got your films from, back in the day. For me, it was like HMV and
Virgin, was it something?
No, we didn't have a Virgin round our place. It was just HMV, there was an hour price, but I think that was before the time of DVDs, I think.
We had a Music Zone as well.
Music Zone, yeah, we had a Music Zone in Bury. I think
There was a Music Zone at Trafford Centre as well. They're pretty big at this time. I used to get a lot of the DVDs from there as well. Maybe get the Critters box set from there as well. I think it was like only a £5 for album.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, when we were talking in town last night on the way home from the Superman screening, and I was telling you about a store that I befriended, like the store manager, and he used to give me DVDs early before they actually went on sale.
Yeah.
It was a Music Zone. You've just reminded me now. So, yeah, shout out to Fergus at Manchester Classic Films for yesterday as well, by the way. They were screening the original Superman, the movie, 1979 film at the Odeon, the Great Northern in Manchester. One of my all-time favourite films, and it's always been something that I've wanted to see on the big screen. So, you know, definite wish list, you know, bucket list kind of movie ticked off on the list there for me. So, big shout out to those guys. Thank you very much for that screening. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was immense. I'm the same, Mike. I really wanted to see it on the big screen myself. It's probably maybe top 10 films of all time or something like that. Definitely, it's up there anyway. Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it was funny though, because I've seen it many times over the years on like VHS and on TV and DVD, Blu-ray and stuff like that. But watching the cinema, it seemed to fly by. I don't know.
Yeah, you forget it's a long film.
Yeah,
it's a good 2.5 hours. But yeah, like you say, when you sat in the dark theatre surrounded with a group of people who are enjoying the film as much as you are, it does seem to go by pretty quickly.
Yeah, it flew by. Yeah, but yeah, really enjoyed it. So cheers for that, Fergus, and hopefully you get something else on. We'll go and watch it again. Another film.
Yeah, someone suggested Superman 4 Quest for Peace. I probably will not be going to attend that one, but
yeah, give that a pass.
Yeah.
But Superman 2.
Yeah. If you get Superman 2 on there, Fergus, yeah, let us know, because I'll definitely be there to see General Zod on the big screen.
Yeah, you're not a fan of the third film, are you? Though you mentioned that to me yesterday. I don't mind the third one. The fourth one, I would sit and watch it, but it's the weaker of the four. And
the third one for me is the Batman Forever of the original Superman films. You can see it's not a terrible film. It's not a good film, but it's not a terrible film. But you can see the decline, you know, especially from like the first two films. In fact, if you go back with a critical eye and watch Superman 2, you can tell, because it was reshot, or a large portion of it was reshot by a different director. The kind of slapstick elements started to creep in as early as Superman 2. But yeah, Superman 3 was obviously...
There's a good few scenes though in Superman 3 what I actually like. You know, the part where he's battling himself into the scrapyard.
Yeah,
Clark Kent version versus the evil Superman.
The bizarro evil Superman.
Yeah, that's really well done, I think. You know,
it is for the time. It was 1983, I want to say.
Yeah,
I think it was 83. So I mean, obviously, you can't have two, you know, versions of Christopher Reeve back in those days. So they had to use split screen and compositing.
But they did it really well.
Yeah, there's a few janky kind of shots, especially where there's one scene where he picks him up to toss him into the car crusher kind of thing, and you can tell it doesn't quite line up, you know, with the image of where his hands are placed on his back and stuff like that. So, but I mean, like I say, for 83, you got to take it for what it was. But yeah, one of those things. Yeah, if you get Superman 2 on one of the showings for Manchester Classic Films, then I'll definitely be there for that one.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, back to Total Recall, because we completely got sidetracked there.
It's not like us, is it, Mike?
No, not at all. No, we are professional on this podcast. Yeah. We never go off tangent.
Don't worry, guys. We won't go on a rant about 3D movies this time. So.
No, you say. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the remake of Total Recall was a 3D film, wasn't it?
I don't think it got released on 3D though. I think it was at the cinema.
At the cinema, yeah, because I'm pretty sure I ended up watching that in 3D because I didn't have a choice. And that film is so dark that the light loss on that film made it a pain in the arse to watch. Even
darker than say Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Oh, I don't think it was quite that dark. So yeah, okay. Total Recall. It's one of the first DVDs that I owned, and I'm trying to think now because I don't, like I was just talking to you off mic, I don't have a copy on Blu-ray, but I do have a copy on HD DVD, and that's what I've used to rewatch here. And I do remember we have spoken about this, but there's quite a funny kind of commentary track on it because Arnold Schwarzenegger was, obviously roped in to do a DVD commentary. I think it was one of his first DVD commentaries that he ever did.
I think it was because I'm sure when I bought the DVD back in 2002, the Region 1 release, and I was about this to you last night as well, when we watched Superman, that I got the Region 1 release and it come in a special tin and a circular tin, limited edition thing, and the lid lifted off and the disc was in there and you had the manual. But the commentary, Arnold Schwarzenegger commentary was on that disc. And I remember telling you at the time at the cinema saying, I've got the commentary, and I remember you actually saying, Jesus, yeah, that's the first commentary he's ever done. So
yeah. And it's not a great commentary track. So if anyone out there is tempted to listen to Schwarzenegger's commentary, it's not great because he literally sits and watches the movie and just describes what's happening on screen.
So he doesn't give any tidbits away or anything?
No, not so much. No, I mean, he is on the commentary with Verhoeven, the director, and he's telling kind of like behind the scenes stories and a little bit of trivia here and there. But Schwarzenegger just doesn't quite understand what a commentary was supposed to be back at that point.
Right.
So he is literally just, and here I'm holding the gun to her head, and then I punch her in the face, and it's just literally that level of commentary, and it's like, yeah, that's not really what we want here. But
yeah, he's probably if it's his first one, he probably just didn't, like you say, he didn't understand it. Did he?
Yeah. I don't think he's got much better, more recent commentaries either. But yeah, it's an interesting film from the perspective of like how it was made, because this, like I say, it was 1990 when this was released in cinemas, so it would have been shooting like late 80s, 88, 89 maybe. And at the time, I believe it was like the most expensive film. I think it was the first film to cost over like $100 million production budget.
That's a big thing.
Or something like that. Yeah, I might be getting confused there, but I know at the time it was one of the most expensive films ever made until it was dethroned by Terminator 2.
Yeah,
the next big film.
True Lies was one as well, wasn't it? That was the big...
True Lies was a little bit later on. That was like later on in the 90s. I think 97, I believe. True Lies.
I think
looking it up.
Just 1994. That was True Lies.
Was it? It was that early. Wow.
Yeah, so it's only 4 years after Total Recall.
Right. I had that being a little bit later on because James Cameron went from True Lies to Titanic, but. Hang on, am I getting mixed? Titanic was 97.
Yeah.
Right, so that's... yeah, I'm getting mixed up there. Yeah, so that was 94, Jesus. See, some of the CG in True Lies is really well done, especially with like the Harrier jump jet and stuff like that. So...
To be honest with you, it's been a while since I've watched that. I've watched it many times over the years, but it has been...
I don't think it's out on Blu-ray. I don't think it's been released on Blu-ray because I've been looking for it. And yeah, the only kind of like copy I could get hold of was like a HD TV rip. Someone had ripped it off like television,
right,
and uploaded it. So it looked all right, but it wasn't properly remastered as like a Blu-ray.
Did it ever get a HD DVD release?
No, not that I know of. No, I think Cameron's holding on to it for some reason. I don't know. I would like a decent Blu-ray copy of that though, if they were to ever release it.
Yeah, it's been about 15 years since I watched that film. It is a good film, and I've watched it many times over the years, but it has been a while since
yeah, thinking about that then, if that was 1994, so this was 1990, and then Terminator 2 was like 91.
Yeah.
And then 94 was True Lies. So he had 3 of his best films by far within the space of those 4 short years there, didn't he?
Did he have anything else in the mix between them as well? Was another one? June. Oh, he had that June, didn't he? That was after. It was 94. That pregnant when he was pregnant or something. Oh, Last Action Hero. That was in there, wasn't it? Was that 93?
It would have been Last Action Hero bombed because it was released at the same time as Jurassic Park. So it was.
And yeah, was it released at a 15 as well? I think they should have.
I think it probably was.
Yeah, I think if anything, if they'd released that now as a 12 there, you might have got a few more in for it. But at the time, releasing it as a 12, a 15, I think that killed it a little bit as well.
Yeah. It was a little bit ahead of its time, that film, with the kind of concepts on it. Because it played about with, like, crossing realities and worlds and all that kind of stuff. What's real, what's not. And
Yeah,
had a few postmodern scenes in there with, like, in the film Reality that Schwarzenegger's Jack Slater was in. Like, Stallone played the Terminator because you saw, like, movie posters with Stallone made up as the Terminator and all this kind of
yeah.
thing. So it was a little bit ahead of its time, and it was released at the wrong time. Going
I
up
think as
against...
well, though, with the young lad in that, what's he called? Danny, the young lad in that. So I think he's only 12 or something, isn't he? 12, 13, 14, around that age anyway. I think what they should have done really is set it where he was maybe about 18, 19, and because there's a few scenes where he's like debating whether throwing a knife and stuff like that, and you think, hang about it, he's like so young, should he be doing this? I think there's one where he punches some guy and he's stood there and he's got the knife and he's thinking, should I throw it? But if he was maybe a bit older, it might have got away with it a little bit more, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look at Schwarzenegger's filmography now. So, like, from 84, he had Terminator, then Commando was 85, Raw Deal was 86, Predator was 87, Running Man was 87, 88 was Red Heat and Twins. Then in 1990, he had the double whammy of Total Recall and Kindergarten Cop. And then in 91, he had Terminator 2. 93, he had Dave and Last Action Hero. And then 94, he had True Lies. And then it was kind of downhill from
Jingle
there.
All the Ways and stuff.
Yeah, so it had a hell of a run, looking back on those action films there. But for me, Total Recall, you're right there, it's probably one of like his best films. Probably his best performance, I'd say, as well. Because he doesn't seem like stiff in this one for some reason. He seems like he's having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing about like Verhoeven's films, even though they're kind of like ultra violent, with the amount of blood and gore. They're a little bit campy. There's a bit of a camp tone to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's a bit of a playfulness there and a little bit of a camp tone which comes along with the satire. This doesn't have so much satire in it compared to things like RoboCop and Starship Troopers. With the sly social commentary, but there's still a bit of campness to this film.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, that Johnny Cab as well, the little taxi driver.
Yeah.
Because I've just got it on in the background as well and just watching it. I think you're doing the same, aren't you, Mike? And,
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, with the Johnny Cab, it's like obviously self-driving cars are becoming a reality now, aren't they? But I don't think I would be comfortable getting in a car which, if I hailed a taxi down and there was no driver in there, I don't think I'd feel too comfortable, sitting in the back of it. And I was thinking, well, it's quite a smart thing to actually have like almost a humanoid figure in the car to kind of converse with. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes it feel a little bit less inhuman and robotic and automated kind of thing. It's like a quote unquote friendly face to look at. So
even though it does look a bit freaky with his eyes.
Oh, it looks really freaky. Yeah. But I mean, that's what I was saying about the special effects in this film. It's because it does use CGI for the scene with the the X-ray machine where he's walking past the X-ray machine and his gun pings off, and that's
okay. I think that stood the test of time.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, most of the effects in this film look pretty good, considering their age and considering just like how much they're attempting to do.
I think the main dodgy CGI was the part where he's on that it's like a train in it when he's watching the TV on the train and it's like come to Mars and stuff. And
like the advert for Recall, the commercial for Recall.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I think that was made up to look obviously fake, kind of thing.
But take that out of the film, then the rest of the CGI and the other parts of the film it looks good.
Yeah, because the commercial shows the rocket taking off, doesn't it, with the guy like stood in front and saying, "Why, fly when you can just have a memory?"
Yeah.
And when I was rewatching this then, and it came on the screen a while back now, while I've got it on in the background, but when he's in the recall office and the guy's trying to give him the the upsell kind of thing, and he's like, well, why just go as yourself when you can be someone else and you can be a secret agent? When he's giving him the spiel, he shows him, he's like, recall's a lot safer than flying in a rocket now, and like a graph comes up in the TV on the background that shows fatalities. So he's trying to say that recall is like safer than it ever has been. But if you look at the graph, like the number of fatalities on the recall thing, it's just it stays constant. And the number of fatalities for taking a rocket trip to another planet, that starts out at the same level and then shoots up for some reason. So technically the guy is not lying, but it's still as dangerous as it ever has been. It's just travelling by rocket's got a lot more dangerous. So I was like, you crafty cunt. Just when I was rewatching it then, I was like, well, there's still people dying at exactly the same rate according to your graph. It's just more people are dying by rocket.
Yeah.
So recall's no safer than what it has been, you lying piece of shit. But that's smarmy, salesman for you, I suppose. But yeah, it's an interesting concept because the kind of central thing is about memories and the ability to have like false memories implanted into your brain, and they're selling it as holidays or experience packages and stuff like that. Yeah. So is that something, if that actually existed, is that something that you would do, or would you prefer it to actually go and do the real thing?
Probably going, I don't know really, I never thought about it like that, but if somebody said to me when I don't know, want to be a special agent, secret agent kind of thing on Mars, or do you want to, I don't know, go to
Mars yourself? Not even looking at like from the perspective of a secret agent. Yeah, if you could just, you can go on holiday to the Bahamas and it'll cost you, 5,000 quid, but it's all inclusive and blah 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 blah. Or you can have it. You can have exactly the same holiday. We'll implant it into your brain for $2,000 quid. But there's a risk that you're going to die, or something's going to fuck up.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an interesting concept because I don't think they're probably that far away from it, because like there's things going on with the brain now where they can stimulate certain feelings and emotions in you just by stimulating a certain portion of your brain. So they're probably not that far away from that becoming a reality. So it's
if you look at virtual reality as well, you put the headset on and you kind of there in a way, aren't you?
Yeah, there's theories that we're living in a simulation now, isn't there? So
well, this is it.
What's real and what's reality kind of thing. And if you had something implanted into your brain like a false memory like that, would you be able to tell the difference? And it's like, maybe that would explain like when you get deja vu and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be.
Because I get deja vu really badly. Like, really badly. I've had it 3 times this week alone.
I've not had it for a while, but I remember one time I got on the bus somewhere and driving off, and it just suddenly came into my mind and just like, this has happened.
Yeah.
I mean,
for me, whenever I have something like that, like a moment of kind of like deja vu, I usually have had that memory through a dream that I've had, and this can be like 2 or 3 months before the event actually happens, but I'll be having a dream and I have a tough time recalling my dreams, much further after waking up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'll forget about having this said dream where this small little incidents happen, and then a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months, however long down the line, something will happen and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I remember that from the dream that I had previously. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's literally just like a 5-second flash of something that's just happened.
But it's triggered something in your mind back to your dream, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I bought this print, I've just bought a new printer this week, and when I was unboxing it, I had all of the polystyrene, and this printer came with pieces of blue tape attached to keep all of the compartments sealed and all this kind of stuff. So as I was taking the blue tape off, I was kind of like sticking it to the inside of the box in just kind of like straight lines kind of thing, but vertical lines pointing upwards kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, I've fucking done this before. I have gone through this process of opening this box and taking the tape off before. And I was just like, it drives me insane as well. It's just kind of like, but I've just kind of, it's one of those things that it happens. I can't explain it, so I've just
got to accept it.
I'm just going to accept it. And the way I look at it now is when I get one of those little flashes or glimpses of a dream that I've had, where it becomes real and tangible, I'm just like, well, I suppose in a way I'm on the right path to doing whatever I'm meant to do. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. So it's not like a Final Destination kind of thing.
No, I just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I'll just accept it. I'll take it as one of those little, signs from whatever the heavens, if you believe in that shit, or fate, or determinalism, or whatever it is. I'll just take it as a sign that whatever's going to happen to me in the next week or so was meant to be, and I'm on the right path towards it. So yeah, weird things anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just kind of like, like the guy says, don't fuck with your brain, pal. It ain't worth it. So I don't think I'd go stick any fake memories in my brain if it was possible, because there's obviously something going in there anyway with these little bouts of deja vu that I get. I've completely lost track of where I was going with that. But
let's get back to Total Recall.
Yeah, let's bring it back to Total Recall. So
so it's set in 2084.
2084. So we're not that far away from it then, are we? It's only 60 years.
Yeah.
I doubt I'll see that. I doubt I'll see 2084, because that would mean I would be 103. I can't see us colonising Mars in the next 65 years at the level that they have done in the movie, because they've got their own kind of like little city set up, and everything is kind of regulated. Oxygen is costed, and you have to buy oxygen like you would have to, buy petrol to fill your car up and stuff like that. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. I don't see why there's so many people eager to go to Mars, because it doesn't look very appealing. Once they get onto Mars, everything's just kind of like rock.
Red rocks, yeah. Machinery there, and you've got obviously kind of like deformed people, aren't you? Mutants kind of thing.
Mutants, yeah.
What did you think of the technology though, Mike? Because I was a bit baffled in it, because there's a scene at the start when he's in his little apartment with Sharon Stone, and he's watching the TV, and it's on like a big screen built in the wall.
Yeah.
And she comes in and flicks the TV off. It's kind of like something I've seen it in another film. I was going to say Back to the Future Part 2 pops to mind, but that was like more of like a roller blind, what they roll down.
Yeah, this is just like a panel that's built into the wall and becomes.
And then later on in the film, I think stays at the hotel, Arnie, and he's watching TV, but it's like just a CRT. Yeah, and he's got the little TV remote in his hand, and he flicks the TV off with that.
Well, it's like the suitcase that he gets given by the guy once, like he's popped his memory cap in the in the parlance of the film. That guy leaves him a suitcase, and then from inside the suitcase he pulls out another suitcase, which essentially is just a TV screen with a video message from himself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, if you have the technology just to have like a big massive screen on the wall, then why the fucking hell have you got big chunky suitcases with like laptop screens in there, and then CRTs and all this kind of stuff?
The CRTs because they're on Mars.
Yeah.
Maybe the technology's, it's not as good on Mars as what it is back on wherever he is, because he's on Earth, and I gather he's on Earth, is he?
Yeah, he's on Earth at the start of the film. Yeah.
It doesn't say we're on Earth, though, does it?
I don't kind of get hung up on those kind of things with this kind of film, because it's you can't get everything right, especially when you're projecting what technology is going to be like in the future, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can't get everything 100% right. But the thing that also kind of helps me not give a shit about that kind of stuff is if the production design looks believable. Do you know what I mean? And as a general whole kind of thing, and that's something that Verhoeven does pretty well. Like he has a very kind of like industrial look to all of his sci-fi movies. They all kind of look as if they could be in the same universe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Yeah, there's lots of kind of like silver metallic girders and, you know, long kind of like straight corridors with like meshed walls and meshed metal walls and all this kind of stuff, and it all looks kind of industrial, strong, and kind of like I don't know what I don't know. I'm missing the word that I want to say.
It's kind of like when Ernie goes to the hotel, you know, when he speaks to the guy in the phone box.
Yeah.
He's in the briefcase. The hotel looks dead grimy, and it has a look a bit like RoboCop in a way. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
RoboCop, grimy and filthy.
And run down, yeah. It looks, and because of like, it has that grime and kind of like that shitty, seedy look to it, it feels real. You know what I mean? It's got this like lived in. It feels like a real kind of hotel where people have gone there, and you know they've taken their mistress there, or the girlfriend that the wife doesn't know about, fucked them in there, come on the fucking curtains, and then left it. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of seedy place.
Yeah, it's existed for a while, and it's not just a case of the front up for a movie. And you know what I mean? It looks like it's been lived in.
Yeah, it's got that lived-in feel. Yeah,
and another thing as well I picked up on through the course of the film, I didn't really notice it over the years previously I've watched it, but since watching it this time, the amount of like product placement in the whole film, you know, like advertising. You've got like Fujifilm there and Coca-Cola, Pepsi. Did you pick up all that stuff, advertising?
Yeah, I'm kind of aware of it, but it's not something that I kind of.
Yeah, it kind of like, I thought, well, there's a lot of it in this film, but I've never really noticed it before. But like Sony Triniton there in the background and stuff, and I just never picked up on it before, but this time I definitely did.
That kind of stuff doesn't bother me unless literally, you know, a character is talking to screen Truman Show style and then turns around and simps on a can of Pepsi with the logo facing the camera. So
I think, do you know when he gets a briefcase and he's running with the briefcase and gets in the Johnny cab, I think it's that little...
Yeah, you see the big Fujifilm sign, don't you?
Yeah, you see, and you've got Bacardi in the background as well. There must be about easy 5 to say 10 products in the background there, just advertising.
Yeah, I mean, Blade Runner did that as well, and it was just a kind of like a slight at where commercialism was going to go. It was just kind of like, you know, corporations are going to take over and they're going to be advertising on these massive billboards, and you're not going to be able to get away from it, and you're going to be a slave to the advertising, and you're going to just kind of like obey like they live kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just something I picked up on this time round.
Yeah, what I picked up on, which I was obviously aware of it when I, you know, watching it previously, but just how red Mars is in this film. Like, really red. Like, Amsterdam, red light zone, red. Do you know what I mean? It is so red.
Yeah, and, I mean, is that because you watched the HD DVD version, so is it a lot clearer and colours and stuff like that, maybe?
Oh, it looks pristine. It looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, it looks really, really good. But it's just like the after watching films like The Martian, where that's a more kind of realistic representation of Mars, you know, and it's just kind of like a desert. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas with this, they've kind of cranked up the whole red planet aspect to 11. You know, you got the scenes in Cohagen's office when Ronnie Cox, who plays Cohagen,
it's just all red.
The bad guy, and then you got, you know, the legend who is Michael Ironside, who plays Richter, and they're talking in the office, and it's just kind of like bathed in this real, you know, neon kind of red glow.
It's that scene as well, though, when they're running, when Richter's chasing Arnie and Melina, and they're going through the ladders. They climb up the ladders, aren't they, and down the ladders, and they're surrounded by the glass, that dome behind them.
The dome, yeah.
And Richter tries shooting, and his mate says no. His lackey says no. What are you doing? You'll kill us all or something. But it's just all that whole scene there, just the red of Mars coming through the glass.
Yeah, you would have thought he'd learnt his lesson about shooting the dog, because literally only like 5-10 minutes previously, he was shooting at Quaid, and he cracked the dome with a bullet then, and it led to a decompression with a few people getting sucked out into the void of Mars. But I think you could let him off with the second time, because Sharon Stone is revealed to be Richter's wife in the film, who's been banging Quaid as like the plant. His plant wife, been keeping an eye on him, but obviously he's been nailing her. And Arnie's, it's not Arnie who shoots her in there. Yeah, it is Arnie that shoots her in there, isn't it? Yeah, it's like, consider that a divorce.
Yeah.
So he's pissed off, and that's why he's, aiming another gun at another dome. He's obviously enraged by that. Yeah, interesting, because like I was saying to you, with the remake of Total Recall, I think the one thing that the remake got over the original film is the females. Yeah.
A lot hotter.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Sharon Stone is, she's at a height of attraction in 1990. Around about this time, she looked as good as what she ever did in Total Recall.
Was this before or after Basic Instincts?
This was before.
Is it before?
I want to say this was before.
And what was the one she did? Was it Silver?
Sliver, yeah.
Sliver, yeah.
I think that came after.
After this, Total Recall.
After Basic Instincts, I think.
Yeah, I think it was definitely after the Basic Instinct.
Because I think Verhoeven directed Basic Instincts. I think he cast Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct because he liked her in this. And I think because of the character that she plays in Basic Instinct, he even wanted to cast Sharon Stone, because there was a bit of trivia that I was reading Total Recall that he was hassling her to show more skin. He wanted her to get a kit off a little bit more. He's a bit of a dirty bastard, is Paul Verhoeven. He always seems to be getting his actors and actresses in the nude.
Yeah, next to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So much so that he pressures them into it, and every now and then, they say, well, we'll shoot it naked if you're naked, like he did with the shower scene in Starship Troopers. They were like, well, we'll only get our kit off if you direct it nude, and lo and behold, he gets his cock out and directed that shower scene in the buff. So
crazy man.
Yeah, it's the Dutch for you, mate. All that weed that they smoke, and obviously liberal attitudes towards sex because of the red light district and all that kind of stuff. But he obviously wanted to see Sharon Stone nude, so he cast her in his next film where she would have to get nude. But he tricked her into showing a muff in that as well, didn't he?
Oh, with the legs, cross the legs.
Yeah. He said that the camera wouldn't be on her at all, and apparently when she saw the film at the premiere, that was the first time that she saw like the infamous leg crossing scene, and realised that the camera was like aimed right down the barrel, and you could see into a soul, as it were.
What did she think of that?
She slapped him. She went up to him and slapped him afterwards. So, yeah, dirty old man.
Yeah. But he's another one. He's a bit like...
He would definitely... I don't understand why no one's going after him for that Me Too shit, because from some of the shit he seems like he's pulled on, like, his female talent in some of his movies. You would think someone's, he's a dirty man and proposition me.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But he seems to have got away with that one.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But,
yeah. Allegedly, I'm not putting myself out there for any kind of lawsuits or anything. This is all alleged,
But he's pretty much along the same lines of, say, Tim Burton, innit? The guy, he'll use certain cast in one film, and he'll invite him back for his next film he does, because he's done it with Sharon Stone, who you just mentioned there, and he did it with Ronnie Cox as well, because Ronnie Cox also starred in RoboCop.
He was the bad guy in RoboCop.
RoboCop, yeah. CP.
There's a couple of people who show up in Total Recall who show up in Starship Troopers a little bit later as well. So
yeah, Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside, obviously, he shows up as the teacher, Ratchek.
And you got Marshall Bell as well, who in Total Recall, his name is George, but he's the one who houses Quator. The little mutant who lives in his stomach. But he was in Starship Troopers as well, wasn't he?
That's
when
right.
he had a brief cameo in that, when he did have a long...
No, but he
Stinson.
was in there anyway. I mean, he's got
Yeah,
one of those recognisable faces, hasn't he? You kind of, and the character that he played in that film as well was like properly unhinged, so he sticks in your memory. Um, the guy who plays Tony in this as well, um, you probably
yeah,
don't recognise him underneath all of the makeup, but that is Dean Norris, who shows up. He shows up as one of the Sky Marshals in Starship Troopers, but he's best known now for being Hank in Breaking Bad.
yeah.
But he's got some pretty heavy prosthetics on in Total Recall here. So unless you knew that was him going into it, you probably wouldn't recognise him.
Yeah, you got a nurse showing your face around here, Hauser.
Yeah. Look who's talking. And he hasn't. It's a weird makeup design, that, because I'd never kind of understood. It looks cool, but I never understood what it was meant to be. It was like his face split in a way, or was it like a growth? Because it looks like something's growing out of his skull. It's just,
Yeah, you can kind of see like
it looks like his face is folded in on itself, and then kind of like,
yeah, because at the back of his head you can see like tissue of his brain.
yeah.
There's
Weird, isn't
another
it?
guy. There's another guy as well. He's nothing to do with the Harvard, but the guy, his real name's Roy Brocksmith, and he was in. He starred in. He was Arachnophobia. I recognise him from that, and he also was in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and he was in Tango and Cash as well.
Yeah,
You
I know the
know
guy
which
that
guy?
you mean. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the guy that tries to talk Quaid out of his paranoid
yeah,
delusion, and
yeah.
he
He's
gives
the
him,
doctor in it. Yeah,
he gives him the red pill. Well, he's also the guy that shows up in the Recall commercial, isn't he?
on the TV. Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, and then he comes back as, the doctor in. Well, what he says is kind of like Quaid's mind. I'm not really here. I'm in your mind. I'm at Recall, kind of thing, and he tries to get him to take the red pill, which I wonder if the Wachowskis borrowed that red pill idea from Total Recall for the Matrix.
yeah. Never thought about that. They possibly could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take the red pill, return back to reality, but obviously there's no blue pill in this one.
yeah.
What I did find interesting is when I was rewatching this, it's the movie version anyway is written by Dan O'Bannon and Ron Shusett, who wrote Alien.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's connected to Alien. They did They did the outline for the story around about the same time as Alien, but it dropped into production hell because no one wanted to, pick up the rights or move forward with it. And then it was picked up by Dino De Laurentiis. He had the rights for a time, and then his production company went bankrupt. And then Schwarzenegger got hold of the script and wanted to do it, and he bought the rights himself because he wanted to get the film made.
Oh,
Yeah.
so who did they have in that? Who did they have? Who were they thinking of before Arnie to play like Quaid?
I think it was. I think when it was under De Laurentiis, they wanted Richard Dreyfuss,
right.
if memory serves, and I think was it Richard Gere?
Oh,
They wanted some because
Richard Gere was in his head at this time, wasn't he?
well, I think that was back in the 80s. That was before because like the original story was based a little bit more on the book, with Quaid being an office worker. Now I've not read because this is based on a short story by Philip K. Dick, and I've not read it. I believe it's only like 20-25 pages or something like that.
Right.
But I've been lazy and I couldn't be bothered finding a copy of it. But he was in the original like short story. He was an office worker, and that was changed when Schwarzenegger came on board because look at the size of him. You don't get to that size, typing on a keyboard or anything like that, do you? So I think they were looking for more of an everyman. When they were first considering casting it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that it didn't go that way.
Yeah, I only did it proud.
Yeah, I've just quickly looked it up. Richard Dreyfuss and Patrick Swayze. So, yeah, imagine how different the film would have been with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. Another person as well who probably could do a good job, Kurt Russell, because he was around a bit then when like Big Trouble in Little China and all these films. The
Yeah,
Thing.
I think if it wasn't Arnie, then I think Kurt Russell would have been an all right kind
Yeah,
of fit for Quaid. Yeah, that would have been an interesting casting choice.
yeah. Just thinking about it there. If it was John Carpenter directing, it would definitely be Kurt Russell, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because he's another one, and he'll get Kurt Russell in wherever he can, like The Thing and Escape from New York, and Escape from LA.
Yeah, let's Escape from LA was a bad one, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, we'll move on from that one. But Escape
Yeah.
from New York's a decent film.
Yeah, it's dated badly now. Though I watched it not so long back, and it's dated really badly. But
Yeah,
low budget. Yeah, it is what it is. Still a classic, but you kind of have to be in the mindset to watch it, and
yeah. If you compare that to say The Thing, but the odd, I think is it the computer scene where you see like
Yeah, but haven't they framed the thing as being set in the 80s? Doesn't it say like Antarctica
yeah,
1980s?
something.
Yeah, something like that. So I don't mind it when a film frames itself in kind of like that, because you can, as an audience member, then you can view it as a like a, not a period picture, but a film of that period.
Yeah, and I think was it last night? I think I mentioned to you then about the things and the practical effects have still hold up, aren't they? Because there's no CGI in the film as such. It's all practical effects, and they stood the test of time.
Practical age is a lot better than CG.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at CG from like the early 90s now, you can tell it's CG from the early 90s. And if you look at practical effects from the early 90s, a movie in the early 90s, you'll say, yeah, that's a practical effect, but you'd be hard pushed to say when it's from, because, it's harder to date. Whereas, I mean, you go back and watch the original Jurassic Park now, and you'll be surprised about how little computer graphics was actually used for the dinosaurs in that. I think it's only about 50 shots in the whole film. But people remember it as being like one of the first films to use big kind of set pieces with CGI because of the T-Rex and all that kind of. But it was used very, very sparingly, and as well as the CG is done for the time, and it was bleeding edge at the time, it was as good as it gets. You go back and rewatch it, and the scene with the very first time you see like the brachiosaur coming out of the water, it's incredibly kind of like low resolution. The skin doesn't look right on it. It looks.
Yeah, I watched this the other night myself.
Yeah,
little girl, and yeah, I do know what you're getting with that as well.
Yeah, and the scene with the raptors when they're coming into the kitchen, that shot where the two of them are kind of like, you've got the two heads as they come through the door.
And one like kind of snaps at the other one.
Yeah, that one looks a little bit ropey. But to be fair, the T-Rex still looks good when it's escaping the paddock and crushing the Jeep and all that kind of stuff, because a lot of the issues that they would probably have with it is masked by the fact that it's shot at night, so it's dark, and it's pissing down with rain, so you can hide a lot of the kind of like the blends, as it were, when you're compositing the T-Rex into the live action plate.
Yeah, well, it's like the old Star Wars films, isn't it? In a way, because all the Star Wars films still look good because it was set in space. You couldn't see the lines around the ships and stuff.
Yeah, because it's against black backgrounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's in a way it's same in it where they managed to get around it that way as well.
Yeah, but funnily enough, if you go back and watch some of like the early Star Trek films, like Star Trek 1 and Star Trek 2, and to an extent Star Trek 3, even though they're kind of like shooting the ships against black backgrounds, if you go back, there's a couple of shots in particular where the Defiant in Star Trek 2, and the Enterprise are having the battle, as it were, in the nebula, and there's a shot where like you can kind of see the way they've done it is they've made like the ships a little bit see-through, so a ship will pass through a star, and very, very faintly you'll see the star move through the ship as if the ship is not solid. It's kind of see-through, and it's just because of how many kind of like different plates and different kind of like optical shots they were compositing on top of each other. The way they had to do it was make certain like layers of the film see-through, as it were, so you can actually see certain objects passing through each other, which is a little bit weird.
Did it take you away to the film though? Seeing that?
Well, I just kind of was like, oh, that's weird. But that's the problem with taking a film that old and putting it onto like Blu-ray, because you can see those cracks, you can see the joins a little bit, because they were never really intended to be seen in that kind of really high definition. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
You wouldn't notice it on DVD, and you certainly wouldn't notice it on VHS. But as soon as you put Blu-ray in, whack it on a projector or a really good TV or something like that, you start to see those joins. You know, they're not hidden as well as what you might think, because
they've cleaned the picture up as well.
Yeah,
for release.
Yeah. So it's weird like that, but I mean, if you stick to practical effects wherever possible, they, like I say, they tend to age a lot better than CG. It's like, look at CG from 5 years ago compared to CG now. You can tell the difference straight away, because it evolves at such a rapid pace that what was great 5 years ago is not necessarily great now.
I know what you mean, and there's one thing as well, because I've been going through the Harry Potter films, and Harry Potter, the first one.
Christ, where that goblin comes in. Is it goblin? The troll that comes in.
That's the part I'm about, and Harry Potter gets on top of the troll's head, and he just looks so late 1990s, early 2000s, dodgy CGI of Harry Potter there.
Yeah.
Top, and yeah, but...
But then take a film that was released a similar time to the original Harry Potter. If you go back and look at some of the CG effects work in, I was going to say Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings film, that they seem to have aged a lot better, but they've hidden some of the joins again using shooting things at night and shooting things in the rain. So, and they're mixing it with practical effects as well. Yeah. And that's if you can mix CG and practical effects and makeup effects together, and never kind of like cut the camera, don't linger on a shot too long, you know what I mean, and cut the camera to something else. You're always guessing between what's real and what's CG, and it helps trick the brain a little bit more between the kind of like different methods that they're using to achieve the same effect. But with that kind of stuff, that scene in particular with the Harry Potter, it looks cartoony, it looks fake, and it doesn't look believable or real at all. And the whole Quidditch match as well, that looks horrific if you watch it now.
Yeah, I think the Quidditch match in all of them was pretty ropey, especially in the first 3 films anyway.
Yeah, and it's not as if they didn't have the money to do it, because these were big, multi-million... they were massive films, and they had big budgets to match. So it wasn't the fact that they didn't have the money to actually do it, it's just the technology just wasn't quite there yet, and it wasn't used in the right way. So, that said, I've just come to the bit in Total Recall where, Richter's shooting at Quaid in front of the glass dome.
Oh yeah, we just mentioned
after Sharon Stone dies, and the green screen is pretty poor in this part here. There's obviously kind of matte lines around like Arnie and Melina's head.
I did pick up on that the other day when I watched it myself. But another thing as well, just going back to it because it's set on Mars, is did you ever play a game on the PS2 called Red Faction?
No, but I am aware of it.
You were a bit, because I remember back in the day when I played that game the very first time, I remember it felt like you was kind of like on Mars in Total Recall.
Oh, really?
It had the same look and the rocks, and you even had like the similar kind of like the machines they were using in Total Recall, like the diggers kind of thing.
Yeah. So do you think they took? Do you think they took like inspiration from?
Yeah. If you ever get a chance, go back and play it anyway. Just try it or look at it on YouTube, and you can see it's pretty much they've took the ideas, some of the ideas from Total Recall movie and put it into that game. The whole setting as well, and the machines are the same and stuff like that. Yeah, it's worth checking out anyway.
Yeah, I'll revisit it. I don't think I'll play it, but I'll see if I can find some
Yeah,
videos on
even the
YouTube.
listeners as well, just go and look it up on YouTube, and you'll know where I'm coming from.
I was just what you were mentioning before about like the product placement and the adverts. I've just had a quick look over a few bits of trivia facts, and it says Coca-Cola is only advertised the only advertised soft drink on Earth, and on Mars the only advertised soft drink is Pepsi. So
Yeah.
the cola wars are obviously still going strong in 2084. So
Yeah,
it's
2084. Yeah.
um, I've got to say I'm a Pepsi man. I do prefer Pepsi. I do like Coke if it's in a glass bottle and ice cold, but if it's just kind of plastic bottle or a can of Coke, then I'll quite happily have a Pepsi Max instead. So
Yeah.
um,
I'm just on that scene now. He's in the hotel, and the doctor comes in.
yeah, I mean we might as well get into that there because obviously that scene where the Doctor is kind of trying to talk Quaid out of his paranoid delusion, his fantasy. That's one of the main kind of questions of debate about the film. It's one of the reasons why I think the film should be considered a masterpiece, because there's an enduring kind of argument as to whether or not the film is reality or if it takes place in Quaid's mind.
Yeah, I think in this scene as well, when he's talking to the Doctor, for a few split seconds of it, Quaid actually believed the Doctor, doesn't he? But because he starts sweating, then it's like he knows obviously he's bullshitting.
Yeah.
Especially when Sharon Stone turns up and she's like, "Oh, you come back to Earth," and you know what I mean. And
well, there's the fact that the character is unsure at that point, it kind of mirrors the audience, because there's just enough ambiguity throughout the whole film that you can go either way as someone sitting watching the film. You can quite happily say this all took place, it's all a reality, and there's enough evidence throughout the course of the film to support you and for that to be true. Or you can go the complete other way and say Quaid never got to Mars, he was always in that chair at recall, and they fucked his brain up, and at the end of the film he was lobotomized and it was all a figment of his imagination. And there's just as much information kind of like littered through the film to support that theory as well.
Yeah.
And that's one of the really, really clever things about the film, and it's done so simply, but it's so effective because it's done in such a way that, like I say, there's more than enough information to support both theories, even though Verhoeven has actually come out and stated what he believes happens to Quaid at the end of the film in the commentary track for anyone who's listened to that. But before we get to what Verhoeven thinks, where do you stand on the?
I think he's actually. See, I don't know. Now you brought it up. Now I'm in two minds. Yeah, damn you, Mike.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, this is why it's regarded so fondly.
Like I said, a masterpiece in it
because there's just I would say it's, if you were to go and ask people who are familiar with the film, I would say you would get pretty close to a 50-50 split. It might be like 40-60 or so in either favour, but I think it would be very close to a 50-50 split either way, where people would say, yeah, it's a dream, or yeah, it's all a reality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean the part at the start in it where he's in recall and he's in the chair, and then that the guy who tries, he sees at first the owner of recall, whatever, the manager or whatever at the desk. He speaks to him and he's talking to one of the clients in it, and then he gets the telephone call, or come quick kind of thing. So he rushes through, and the woman said, "Oh, he's just gone mad. He's said like he's been to Mars, and he's shouting, 'You blew my cover' and stuff, Annie." And he said, "Well," so they put him to sleep, and the guy says to the woman, the doctor, the scientist or whatever, says, "Oh, you can't just do one blow procedure and implant it." And he said, "No, we've not even implanted it yet." So Did you know what I mean? Did he?
What's your gut reaction? Do you think it you know, do you think it's all part of the dream, or do you think it actually happens?
I think it's
Oh,
actually happened. I'm going to go with actually happened.
okay, okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Okay, well, that works out pretty well because I am of the opinion that it didn't happen. I think this was all a delusion, and it's all in his mind.
On
Because
his mind.
yeah,
What did Verhoeven think?
well, I'm not going to get to that just yet.
All right.
I'm not going to get to that just yet because it'll kind of like end the conversation. But just for kind of like argument's sake, it's kind of like, yeah, when he goes to recall, and he's sitting in the chair, you've got the woman who's about to do the procedure to implant the memory into his mind, and
Yeah.
she's asking him questions. She's like,
Oh, he nods off and he falls asleep.
yeah, so they're sedating him, and she's asking him, what's your sexual orientation, and he's like hetero, and she's like, what would yeah, for the woman that you meet in the dream, what would you prefer? And he's
Brunette
like
and stuff.
brunette
Yeah.
and athletic, sleazy, demure, and then a picture of Rachel Tickerton, who plays Melina, actually comes up on the screen,
Screen. Yeah.
and she's actually the same woman that he dreams about in the very first scene that we're introduced to. So he's dreaming about a woman who randomly is generated through a computer software, similar to like an avatar picker, in like a
Yeah.
role play game. So there's seeds of doubt both ways because he's dreaming about her before he even sees her on the screen
Screen.
at recall.
Yeah.
So she could be real because we see her in the very first screen holding hands with Quaid on Mars. And
Yeah.
if this
he
was
knows
all a
it.
dream, or if this was all part of the recall memory implant, how could he be dreaming about it before he's even had the memory implanted in the first place?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying about it goes either way. There's just as much information supporting
On one
each
side.
argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what else have we got there? So we've got the also when they're talking about that and setting up the whole kind of memory implant as well before they get to the Melina, the nerdy science guy behind the woman, when he picks up the actual thingy, I can't remember what it. He picks up like the tape that they're going to implant into him, and he reads out the title of it. And he's like, "Oh, Blue Sky on
Oh,
Mars."
a new one or something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a new one.
Yeah. Not heard that before or something.
Yeah, and then lo and behold, at the end of the movie, because they're able to, activate this machine that melts all of the ice. That's the core of Mars, and then that becomes, the oxygen, and that goes up into the atmosphere. And then at the end of the movie, Mars is transformed from a red planet to a blue planet. So there is a literal blue sky on Mars. So
So do you think then he wakes up from that? Wakes up from the implant and he's back in
no,
recall.
no. I think there's one very strong reason that I think that this is all a fake, and it's a cinematic kind of trope, if you will. At the very end of the movie, when Arnie and Melina have vanquished Cohagen, he's had his eyes pop out of his head, and he's like, "Well, what if this is all a dream?" And she's like, "Well, you better kiss me quick before I wake up." And then they kiss, and then the screen fades to white. Now, in cinematic terms, when a screen fades to white, it means that the character's died, and if you want to take it a step further, literally ascended to heaven. Gone towards the white light. Do you know what I mean? So in cinematic terms, a fade to white is usually signifying a death. In those terms, they're going towards the white light. And
So is that the end there then?
that for me is Quaid, his character dying, and the reason I said I didn't want to say what Verhoeven said, he pretty much confirms that at the end of the commentary. He says he used the fade to white to signify that Quaid is lobotomized in the chair. So that's his thought on it.
Ah.
Yeah, but even though that's how he saw the film and he saw the story, he wanted to leave that ambiguity so that if you chose to, you could believe that Quaid was the hero and got the girl. and was able to save and liberate Mars.
Yeah, so it depends on
Yeah.
yourself and
Yeah.
the film.
So he's still kind of, even though he had his own theory and, his own take on it, as the director, he still wanted to leave that, those little breadcrumbs enough for the audience to make their own mind up, which I think is actually, really good, because a lot of times a director would say, well, no, that's my vision, that's my thought, and my thought is how it is, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
We kind of left it open to our own thoughts ourselves, and the movie ends which way you want to take it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of that's the kind of thing that makes these films endure longer. Do you know what I mean? And become kind of classics in a way. Because you look at the ambiguity at the end of films like Blade Runner. Is Deckard a replicant or is he not? That movie became a classic based on that ambiguity.
Yeah.
As well as the visuals and all that kind of stuff.
To be honest with you, now you've said all this, but next time I revisit Total Recall and watch the whole film, I'm going to be looking at it a different way now, knowing this. Knowing the ending, what Robin said.
Yeah, well, the story as well kind of takes very kind of sharp, twisty turns. It's like you've got the Benny character who is...
he's got 5 kids to feed, man.
He's got 5 kids to feed. And then, he ends off betraying Quaid. He kills Quato and he betrays Quaid and takes him to... leads him to get captured by Cohagen. The fact that Benny, who is an ally and then turns suddenly, is kind of like something out of a Bond film, with an unexpected villain turn. Do you know what I mean? Someone who you think is a good guy. It becomes very kind of spy movie, kind of dependent on the spy movie tropes. So you've got the mysterious figure who comes and gives him a suitcase full of money and a disguise, and the video of himself kicking the whole thing into the whole kind of story into motion on Mars and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you've got him, using the disguise to slip into Mars, with the woman with the segmented head, the whole mask that he wears and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you got the kind of like the Bond gadgets in a way. He's got a suitcase full of gadgets. He's got the hollow watch on his.
Oh yeah, the kind of like it's like it's got a name. Is it like a transporter, teleporter, or something?
It's like a holographic kind of projector thing, isn't it? So he puts it on his wrist, and then it creates a hologram of himself, and he uses it to trick like Richter and a couple of goons. But these are all kind of like gadgets that you would expect Bond to get off cue. Do you know what I mean? So it becomes kind of like spy thrillery in the same way that he has to be a secret agent on Mars, and he is a secret agent. From that point on, he is a secret agent. He gets all the gadgets. He gets
all the women.
He gets the girl. He's got a femme fatale in Sharon Stone's character and all this kind of stuff. And then he's got
and Benny who he befriends the taxi driver who befriends,
who then eventually kind of betrays him as well. Yeah. So it does become kind of like a Bond film when he's on Mars, from that point forward. And then like something really kind of, people kind of skip over this part, but when he's captured by Cohagen and Cohagen's going to wipe his mind and he straps him in the chair, Arnie is able, I know he's obviously physically quite an imposing guy, but he's able to break free from steel shackles. And you literally see the pole that he pulls out of the chair, and it's got a spike on the end, as if he's kind of like twisted it. He's so strong, he's twisted it and broken a piece of metal. Which any normal guy wouldn't be able to do unless he is kind of having this delusion that he's a superhero, super spy kind of thing.
Yeah, because that pole when he pulls out, it's about 10 inches long, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, and it's obviously steel, or some kind of metal, because the next thing, he stabs it straight into that science tech's neck. And it just pisses out blood everywhere, doesn't it?
And then he starts taking all the other scientists, doesn't he? One at a time or 2 at a time.
Yeah.
And they're coming at him.
Yeah, so he becomes kind of like this invincible, kind of bulletproof hero the moment after he comes out of recall. So, yeah. But I just go that way because, that's how I like to see. I like to view the film. Do you know what I mean? But that's not
Yeah.
to say that I would say you're wrong for thinking it's the other way,
Yeah.
because
There's evidence said.
there's just as much evidence
Yeah.
there's just as, I mean, like I said to you, in the very first opening shot, he's dreaming about the Melina character. Now, how can he be dreaming about this character
Before he's ever
before
before she's appeared on the screen.
exactly,
Implanted, yeah.
so there's all that kind of stuff on the other side of it as well. But
Plays with your mind. Plays with your mind on it.
yeah, of course it does. But like I say, films like that leave that ambiguity in the audience's hands and says, you make the decision. It kind of makes the film, in a way, multiple choice, and it's kind of like, you pick your own ending. You pick the ending that you're happy with. And Blade Runner did the same. It's kind of like, do you believe Deckard's a replicant? Brilliant. Well, here's the information to support that. Do you believe Deckard is a human? Brilliant. Here's the information to support that. And Inception as well, that's another one. It's like, is that a dream or is it reality? Does the spinning top fall over or does it keep going? It's it's all in your mind, and those kind of questions stay with you as like an audience member, as a film lover, and they make the films greater than what they would otherwise be without those kind of like open-ended questions.
Yeah, it's good. Good take on the film, though, isn't it, I think, as well. And with Verhoeven saying that now, it's made me think, right, now I'm going to revisit this rather sooner rather than later, and just maybe think of it a different way, look at it a different way as a whole of the film.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, because you can watch it the other way and be looking out for those little pieces of, those little breadcrumbs, and you can get just as much enjoyment out of the film watching it from a different perspective, looking for those kind of like little things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, new twist on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sticking to the Benny character. Have you seen him in anything else?
Off the top of my head, no.
I've seen him in one film. It was a film called Hideous. I think it was a low budget horror film. And Hideous was directed by Charles Band. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Mike, yourself. He was the guy who kind of Puppet Master and all them type of films, the Evil Bong and Ginger Dead Man and stuff.
I've seen Ginger Dead Man once because of
Gary Busey,
a young lady who shall remain nameless for this for the sake of this podcast. But yeah, she made me watch Ginger Dead Man, and I was it was terrible.
Yeah, well, we did get Gary Busey voiced.
I don't give a shit. Gary Busey can voice whatever the fuck he wants. It's still a shit movie.
Oh yeah, it was bad, wasn't it? Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And this was wasn't this in the days before Gary Busey went mad? So he really should have fucking known better.
Well, yeah, I think he must have needed the money though as well.
Yeah, probably.
For starring that. Well, yeah, because he was the name behind it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The main actor behind it. But did you ever see? I think it was the third film when it was like a time travel one, and I think he went from present day, the Ginger Dead Man, back to 1970s or something like that.
Wait. They made 3?
I think they'd made 3 official ones.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and they'd made about another 3 spin-offs, but it's been like Evil Bong versus the Ginger Dead Man. Evil Bong, yeah. I've only ever seen one of them briefly, and they're not for me, them kind of things. I don't mind some child films like your Puppet Master and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ, where do you find these fucking things?
Tell you, I don't know, you just come across them on YouTube and stuff like the trailers and stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah. You know what I'm like, Mike, for me watching.
Yeah. I'm dreading the day that you actually fucking bring one of these films to the podcast. You're like, next week we're going to be watching Gingerbread Man. That'll be the day that I'll be like, do you know what? Fuck this podcast. I am done with it.
Yeah, no. No. Oh. Yeah, I won't be mentioning that one on the podcast anyway.
Good.
Did you ever see the Trancer films?
I think I've seen the first. Isn't that the kind of like rip-off version of Scanners? Or am I mistaken?
Not sure. You remember the Wes Craven Scanners, is
it? Scanners was Cronenberg, mate.
Cronenberg, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, with Michael Ironside.
Yeah.
Is that no?
it's been a while since I've seen it actually. The Transfer films. It's one of them though. The first Transfers film. It's aged as you're watching it, but it's one of them films with a good story behind it, and it needs kind of like modernising everywhere, and it needs like a remake doing because there is a good story behind it, good plot behind it, but
Right.
it's been that long since I've seen it. I can't go into detail about it. That's the thing. But
Right,
yeah,
right. I'm pretty sure there was something to do with psychics and trances, and I think it was kind of coming off the success or trying to piggyback off the success of Scanners. But I think I've only seen, I don't know how many films there are in trances, but I would have
think you went to like 6 or something like that.
really, I would have only seen the first one, and I think I've only ever watched it once, if that.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one. I am aware of the other ones.
Yeah.
My brother's a bit of a fan actually of the Transfer films. I think he's watched like the first 3 or 4 or something like that. I think it's the first 5 maybe. The main actors, he's in all 5 films, and then in Transfer 6, I think it's a woman. I don't know what happens regarding the woman coming into it.
Right.
And, I don't know if he I don't know, transfers his soul or whatever into a woman. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it goes that the plot behind it. But the first film, it's one where he just needs a modern remake because there's a good story behind it.
Right. Okay. No, I don't, like I say, I don't remember them. I remember that I might have watched one of them on like back in the VHS days when my auntie used to get them at the weekends, but I certainly haven't watched anything like that as I've been an adult. Do you know what I mean? Into movies or anything like that. Same with Scanners as well. It's kind of like that's another one of those films that people say is like a classic horror, but I've never really, gone back and revisited because I don't know, just never.
It's got a bit of a cult following, that film.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's mainly because of Cronenberg and like how weird.
Hindsight.
Yeah. But
the Scanner films, is there 3 of them or is there 4?
I know there's a few.
I know there's 3, but I'm sure there is a 4th one. I'll have to look it up now quick.
I think there was a spin-off as well. I remember Scanner Cop. I don't know if that was like
there's
one of the main films.
There's Scanners, and then you've got Scanners 2, The New Order, Scanners 3, The Takeover. Yeah, there's Scanners Cop 2, Scanner Cop 1994 video. So maybe they might be a tie into the Scanners film, the Scanner Cop.
I think the Scanner Cop films were spin-offs to Scanners.
Yeah, they're made for TV, aren't they? I think them.
Possibly. I haven't seen them. I've seen the originals. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Cronenberg, because I like, or at least I think I like Videodrome.
That's bizarre, that film.
I'd have to go back and watch it and see how I feel about it now, because it's been about a good, maybe about 12, 15 years since I've seen it last.
Yeah, probably about the same.
And I thought I liked it at the time. The Fly, I think, is fantastic, the remake.
Oh, classic.
Yeah. And then...
What about that Existence, is it something?
Existence, I'm kind of on the fence about. It's kind of like, there's things in there that I like about it, but there's like other stuff that I really don't.
What else was his his other popular films, what he's done, Cronenberg?
Naked Lunch, I know he did that with Peter Weller. He did something that had like slugs that crawled into your body.
Was it that Kronos, was it, or something?
No, Kronos was Guillermo del Toro. He did something called Shivers, which had like slug or turds that kind of crawled into your body.
It was Michael Rooker, wasn't it, that, I think?
No, I think he was in that. Was it? No, I don't know. No, I don't think. No, that was Sliver. You're thinking of
Sliver. What did you say?
With Rooker. This is Shivers. Sliver was James Gunn film.
Yeah.
James Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy. It had Nathan Fillion in and Michael Rooker, but this was back in the 70s, and I remember watching it on BBC Two one night, and I was just kind of like, "What the fucking hell is all this about?"
Yeah, 1975. Just get it up now.
Yeah,
he did that Rabid as well.
Yeah, I think that came after it.
Yeah, 77, and just
So,
the Dead Zone as well.
like, the
Just
only reason
behind.
I watched those kind of things was like for the special effects, or the non so not so special effects, because they were pretty low budget and like really, you could tell it was just like a piece of rubber on a string and shit like that, really badly done. But it was, the special effects were done in a way like, because he has a thing about body horror, so like anything happening to the body, it was done in an
Yeah,
ugly way. It was done in kind of like a really kind of like ugly way, blood, kind of like disgusting. In it's hard to describe. But I find Cronenberg a bit kind of like a bit frustrating.
in what
Just
sense?
I can't get on with him sometimes. I really can't get on
Mm.
with like his sensibility. It's like The Fly, yeah, fantastic. Videodrome, I remember liking it. I'm not sure if I do now. Existenz frustrates me because there's just something about that, the tone of the film, that kind of leaves me cold, and I can't really enjoy it. And I don't know if that's down to the kind of stilted performances from Jude Law and what's her face, Jennifer Jason Leigh,
Yeah,
because they're meant to act in a weird way, but it feels mm, like Twin Peaksy in a way, but not
yeah.
as clever. Uh,
I've never seen that film once, and it always just reminded me of Videodrome. It had that similar kind of like tone, but you know, like the effects and stuff like
yeah.
that was pretty similar to Videodrome, where you look at it like The Thing. I think The Thing is,
I mean, the only reason I watched Videodrome when it came out was because it had Debbie Harry in it, and you know
yeah.
she was hot back in the day.
I think the reason I watched it, I think it was on BBC Two one night years ago when I was a kid, and I think I read about it in the magazine or something.
Yeah,
And it was coming on, and it was like 18, rated by 4 to 5 stars. I thought, well, I'll give it a watch then, and it was a bit of a read up about it, and it's probably gruesome and stuff, and
yeah.
but yeah, I'll give it a
I mean,
watch,
I
and I was a bit
liked he
like,
did that History of Violence with Viggo Mortensen, and I really enjoyed that. And then he did another one with Viggo Mortensen with he was playing like a Russian mafia guy, Eastern something, Eastern Promises, was it? And that was okay, but again, I, that kind of felt a little bit weird to me as well. It had that kind of very sterile, kind of cold tone to the film, which is difficult to kind of get behind and get invested in. I don't know. I don't know. I think Cronenberg is. I don't want to say overrated. It's just I have issues with some of his films. I just can't get on with some of his films for some reason.
for me, I think his main one for me, his standout one is The Fly.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean that was '86, mate. So you know,
Mm.
there's a long period between The Fly and then History of Violence, because History of Violence must have been 2004, 2005, something like that.
Yeah, well, you look at the distance, the time between Shivers and The Fly, you're looking at like 11 years between them two. 'Cause that was 75 when it towards 86. Did you say The Fly?
Fly's '86, is it?
I think you said 86, didn't you?
I can't remember now.
I'm sure you just said 86. I'm just
Yeah, '86. Yeah, I've just pulled it
yeah,
up now. Yeah.
yeah. So there's 11 years between that. Yeah, between them two.
Mm,
But
same.
yeah, we'll get off Cronenberg.
Yeah, we'll get to Cronenberg.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
let's get back to Mr.
Ulrich.
Douglas Quaid.
Yeah, Douglas Quaid. Okay, do you have any bits of trivia that you want to throw out
I
there?
think I pretty much threw in all the trivia. I think I wanted to like regarding the cast and yeah, and other little bits and stuff like that. I think you might be the man with most of the knowledge on this one.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gone through most of the stuff that I can think of off the top of my head. Have we mentioned that the Johnny Cab was voiced by Robert Picardo?
No, we didn't mention that. No.
Robert Picardo, who is probably best known as being the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager, or if you're a fan of Gremlins 2, he's the guy that gets raped in the toilets by the female gremlin at the end of the film.
Yeah, and he's also in a space as well, wasn't It was the cowboy.
He
In
was the
space.
cowboy in Inner Space. I've got that downloaded, but I've not rewatched it yet. I downloaded it about 6 months ago.
Has it been a while since you watched
Oh,
that
it's been
film?
years since I watched that film, mate. I don't think I ever had that on DVD. So I'm going back to VHS days since I watched it in a space.
Yeah,
Or probably
I
the last time I've probably watched it is when it's been on TV.
mm,
You know, that's one of those films that was usually shown at about 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon kind of thing. So I probably caught it then. But yeah,
yeah, I think we had it on VHS back in the day, and then yeah, it's a good film. And Meg Ryan back then she was looking pretty fine.
yeah. And then she injected her lips and went a bit bitchy. So I remember
Yeah,
Meg Ryan being an absolute twat on was it Parkinson on an interview that he did with her.
mm, yeah.
And ever since then, I was kind of like, I can't really go back and rewatch a film now. I know she's a cunt, so I don't really want to go and watch any film that she's in now.
Well, it's worth going back though and watching her space because Martin Short's decent in it, and you got is it Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, he's another one that kind of disappeared, isn't he, Martin Short?
Yeah, he did Three Amigos, didn't he? And Inner Space, and he did a few, didn't he? He was pretty popular in the 80s, but yeah, just fell apart.
Yeah,
Whatever. Don't know if he's had family problems, you know what I mean? And he just, I don't know if he's not even know if he's still acting.
I think he's probably doing TV now because the last film that I can remember him being in was that cheerleading film that had Kirsten Dunst in it. Or was it? Was it that? No, it wasn't.
Was he in that?
No, it might not have been that. It might have been. I'm sure it was a film with Kirsten Dunst in it.
Oh, he was in the Santa Claus movies. He was in Santa Claus 3.
Was he? Oh,
Yeah.
it was Get Over It.
Ah,
Because we watched that on the staff preview one night. That's probably before you started at the cinema.
yeah, doesn't ring a bell, that one.
Yeah, I think it was 2001, that one. Yeah, I've just brought it up to
Yeah.
2001, so it was before you got to the cinema.
He's actually done a lot of voice talent as well, like Madagascar 3 and that Frankie Weenie.
I've never watched any of the
Oh,
Madagascar films. It never really interests me.
I've never seen the first one, and I wasn't that struck on the first one.
No.
It was in that, is it Hoodwinked 2, um, Spiderwick Chronicles. Yeah, so he has done stuff, but nothing they get like on par with his 80s stuff. Or he's in Treasure Planet as well. We went to the cinema, and that was really... Oh, no, the game, sorry, Treasure Planet on
Oh,
the
right,
PS2.
okay.
It was... Oh, no, sorry, the movie, yeah. Somebody called Ben in Treasure Planet, but we was at the cinema at the time when that got released. And Jimmy Neutron as well. That was at the cinema when we was there.
No idea. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Sure.
Right.
And any favourite scenes then? What's your favourite
Well, I was just going to, before I get into anything like that, I was just going to say that something that would have blown my theory out of the water about it all being a dream is there was a sequel plan for Total Recall 2. Where Schwarzenegger,
starving at?
yeah, he was supposed to come back as Doug Quaid. So obviously that would have, put pay to the ambiguity for the first film. But that was eventually kind of morphed its way through development into becoming Minority Report. They were kind of trying to use another Philip K. Dick short story, Minority Report, to base Total Recall 2 on. And then that kind of all got washed away and eventually became, just a straight up adaptation of Minority Report with Tom Cruise and directed by Spielberg, which I really like. I really like Minority Report with Tom Cruise.
Did you watch that at the cinema?
Yeah, that was on at the cinema when I was working there.
Yeah, when we was both working there, yeah.
Yeah, so that must have been around about 2002 time. Because if I remember rightly, what they were going to do was the precogs in Minority Report, they were going to change those, because, the whole point is the precogs can, have telepathic abilities and all this kind of stuff and can see murders happening beforehand. They were going to change the precogs from, like, clairvoyant to the mutants who have psychic abilities in Total Recall. So they're going to swap that around.
Yeah.
I'm kind of,
I didn't even
I'm,
I didn't even know this, Mike. I didn't even know it was a.
yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't go down that route because, like I said, Total Recall is Minority Report is quite an underrated film, I think. Um,
That was going back to the cinema days as well. I don't even recall. Yeah, when we worked at the cinema, it was on. It got released and it was there for a good few weeks, and then it kind of dwindled down, and it ended up going from one of the big screens into one of the small screens, and then I don't know what it were. I think because we went down to one showing, and then it kind of like we are just getting a lot of people coming in watching it, and it was like full screens again. So they beefed it back up into they moved it back up into one of the bigger
yeah, but
screens.
it was in Screen One for a
Crazy.
while, and then it went out, and then it went back into Screen One, and
Yeah, I think I remember dropping into like screen 7, one of the small screens,
yeah,
and then it just oof, it went. We put it back up into a bigger screen because it was selling out, and
that's
it was
that's the only
just
time that I
crazy.
can remember that ever happening on my stint at the cinema. I can't remember a film
Yeah,
going out of one of the big prestige screens because we only had two. We had 1 and 12, which were essentially mirrors. So all the screens on one half of the cinema were this, mirrored by the screens on the other half of the cinema.
yeah,
And Screen 1 and Screen 12 were like the big screens
big,
where the
yeah.
big blockbuster films would go straight into that week. And when Minority Report, because we only got one copy of Minority Report, if I remember right,
Mm.
it went straight into screen number one, and then it went out of it. And you're probably right; it probably was in,
I'm sure it was in 7 or something, one of the small ones,
yeah.
6 or 7.
And then it
Um,
ended up going back into, because like 6 or 7 were like the smallest screens. They were only, I'd say, about 80 seaters. They were tiny, weren't they?
yeah, they were really
They
tiny.
were tiny. Uh,
I just remember though that I remember being on ushering, and I'm sure you were on ushering that day or something, or you might have been on concessions, and I was just saying to you, it's crazy. Everybody's coming for Minority Report, and it's full in there. And we went in, and um, I'm sure you went in, and you like come out, and you said, "Yeah, you're not joking. It's full. What you know what I mean? What's it? Why is everybody coming watching it? It's on its last showing, and it's on its way out, and it was just crazy." And I think we spoke to projection. Somebody spoke to projection and said it's selling out this again. Sold out for the last 2 weeks on one showing, so they moved it up
yeah.
into a bigger screen,
It
yeah.
was weird because,
And then
like I
and then I
say,
think
I don't remember that ever happening for another film.
yeah, it was bizarre.
Yeah.
It was absolutely bizarre because I'm sure this. If I remember right, I think the showing was like about 9 o'clock at night or something, half 8, 9 o'clock at night, and it was just selling out. But if I recall as well, the people who was coming watching it was people in the like 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Coming watching it, yeah. So it was bizarre. I don't know if they got wind of it later on, and it's like, oh, okay, it's probably a good film. Let's go and watch
Yeah.
it. But
It obviously, did well on kind of word of mouth. Um,
yeah, and because I do remember a few weeks later when it got moved up into the next screen, saying, "How's it getting on? Is it still selling out?" And you're like, "No, mate, we only got like 2 people watching it. I think it's gone now. It's seen its day. It'll be going out soon. We'll lose it. We'll get it off."
yeah, yeah. But I don't ever remember another film going from a big screen to a small screen and then have to be put back into a big screen because, the demand was there for it.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
that.
I remember there was About a Boy as well because that was on when we were both working there, and that had another mini rush on as well, but it never got put back into a bigger screen.
No, no. I don't remember many people coming to watch that. And the only people that did come were the kind that we used to bring their own, boiled sweets, the Werther's Brigade.
Yeah, yeah,
That the fucking
yeah.
because they were the same type of people who came and watched Billy Elliot. I used to hate fucking going in cleaning up the screens after them because there were always boiled sweets stuck to the floor and fucking boiled sweet wrappers, and it's like,
Yeah,
you fucking old bastards, just keep them in your mouth
yeah.
or fucking.
Coffee cup.
Yeah, coffee cups and boiled sweets stuck to the floor. It was wor- It
Yeah,
was worse than cleaning up kids. But
yeah.
yeah, that was a bit of a departure. That was all for Minority Report, which is another highly recommended film, if I do say so. So go and check it out. I'm kind of glad that we didn't get a sequel to Total Recall, because if we did get a sequel, it would have ruined the kind of mystery between whether or not it's a real happening on
Yeah.
the dream
But they did do
sequence.
the TV series, didn't they? Was it what we
And
call 2070 or something? So I gather it was a prequel.
yeah, I never saw it.
I've never seen it myself. I'm aware of it, but
Yeah, I don't even know who was in it.
um,
Let's have a quick look.
but the guy who's in it doesn't play Douglas Quaid, so obviously he's not playing a younger version. It's somebody called Michael Easton.
No idea who that is. Never heard of him.
No, I've never heard of him either.
Yeah, I'd never seen it. I don't know much about it, so there's not.
Well, on Internet Movie Database, it's been rated 7.1.
Really?
Yeah, but it's only had just over 1,000 votes, so take that as you may.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna
take it with a pinch of salt.
I'm not really gonna go and revisit that. I don't think that's worth.
How many episodes did it span for? 7. Oh, it went on for 22 episodes. Just one season.
Were they aired though? Were they all aired or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 1999, 5th of January 1999 to 8th of June 1999. That's when it's finished. So we didn't get long. Only got January to June.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
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 No, not for me. I don't think.
Yeah. And then we got the remake.
That's like the Blade TV show. It's kind of like I like the Blade movies, but I've got no interest in going watching Blade TV show. So, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the first episode or 2 of that one. It wasn't too bad from what I remember, but I never stuck it out. That was the thing. It didn't seem right. Somebody else playing Blade opposed to Wesley Snipes at the time.
Yeah.
But apparently, from what I've heard and read of people, that he did a good job. The guy who played Blade. He just looked a bit too beefy to play Blade.
A bit too beefy.
Yeah, a little bit too beefy.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I think that's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're struggling to say stuff. I mean, I could go on about the music. I thought it was Basil Poledouris who did the music for it, but it wasn't. It turns out it was Jerry Goldsmith. But the start of it sounds very Polidorus-y. It's a good soundtrack. I quite enjoy the soundtrack. It's got that kind of. It's not like a sci-fi soundtrack, but it's more like an adventure type soundtrack. It's very exciting. Lots of kind of like bombastic themes on there, and a little bit of kind of mystery and suspense. Typical kind of.
Yeah,
I'm getting my words mixed up here, but there's sprinkled through the kind of like music, but especially in the scenes where you've got that miniature shot where it's going through the caves in Mars. No, when he's doing the mind link with Quato. How creepy is that the makeup on that baby? Yeah,
that freaked me out back in the day. The first time I saw it, was
isn't it? And I was kind of, when I was rewatching it the other night, I was kind of like, okay, so he's met up with Quato, and I remember it being the baby, and then you've got that guy who's doing the voice for it. I don't know who does the voice for Quato, but I was just kind of like, this baby looks evil, and he's supposed to be a good guy, but he looks evil. You wouldn't trust this fucking thing at all. And he's like, open your mind, and it's just. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, that freaked me out back in the day, but also the part as well, just at the end of the film now, where what's it called, the main villain in the film, when he gets sucked out into Mars and his eyes are popping out over his head, and it's happening to Ernie as well. That used to freak me out as well, especially the guy before Ernie, when his eyes are popping out there and his neck's going massive. That used to like, whoa.
Yeah, and the decompression bit.
Yeah, it really freaked me out. Then. Yeah, like whoa. First time I've seen anything like that as a kid.
But yeah, the bit where Arnie's doing the mind meld with Quato, you got that kind of sequence where the camera goes through the caves in Mars, and you see the machine that will melt all of the ice, and the music there is kind of like really twinkly, in a way, and kind of I quite
a bit different to it.
Yeah, I like the. I think the soundtrack's pretty good. You can listen to it on its own without the movie, and you can enjoy the soundtrack.
Is it along the lines of the Running Man soundtrack, would you say?
I can't remember the soundtrack for the Running Man. It's been a while since I've seen Running Man. I wouldn't... It doesn't ring a bell. No. Yeah, that's about it. So, let's sum it up. Great movie. Great story. great bit of ambiguity in there. You can watch the movie from multiple kind of like viewpoints, and kind of, you can enjoy the movie depending on your own kind of thoughts on where the story takes you. Yeah, I think it should be, labelled as a masterpiece. People may or may not agree, because it's kind of dated in a way with, some of the things that it thought the future was going to be, and some of the effects with them being practical, don't quite stand up to modern day scrutiny. But for the time, it was really, really well done. One of the last old school, optical miniatures and practical effects. And I think I think any self-respecting movie fan needs to have seen Total Recall.
If you've not, go and check it out. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Even though we spoiled the shit out of it, it's still definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, there's a few little nice little funny moments in the film, isn't there? Especially for Hermione.
Yeah.
With his comes out with his one-liners when he's one of my favourite scenes as well, when he takes on Benny. When Benny's in that like mine.
Oh, he's in the excavation vehicle with all the drills on the front of it,
and he's trying to like drill Ernie, and Ernie's avoiding it, and he's got that big massive like drill piece, and he drills it into the side of the like he's getting like a mechanical tank.
It's a tank with like drill pieces on the front of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's like Benny sat in it because you can hear Ernie's trying to drill his way through the door, and he's like, "Where the fuck are you?" And Ernie drills, just about to drill through, just says, "Screw you!" Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's pretty.
Did you notice as well, kind of like there's because it looked dangerous because like Arnie and Melina are both kind of stood in front of that thing while all of the stuff is like whirling around them, like those spikes and that kind of stuff.
She gets her arms cut, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, they both kind of like get nipped by it, don't they? But there's a scene where like they're right up to the wall and it's gone into the wall kind of thing, and then it reverses out and like all the rock kind of like falls down behind them. If you watch that again, you'll see a big fucking chunk of rock actually hits her on the head and she kind of flinches away from it. I'm like, that looks a little bit too heavy just to be polystyrene painted up. Yeah. So I'm wondering if there was, a bit of heft to that, because she didn't look happy about being hit on the fucking head by that.
Yeah, it could be right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's regarding an Ernie film. It's up there with Predator and definitely up with the Terminator 1 and 2. This is probably like it's one of his best Ernie films. I think.
100%.
So yeah, you do get the Ernie performance in his classic quotes and one-liners, but also you see a different side of him in this film. He plays this different, bit more of a serious, like you say, he's having a bit of fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not as wooden as what he was in some of the earlier films. I think he's definitely evolved a little bit as an actor. That's not to say he's going to be winning any Oscars anytime soon, but I think it was the most natural performance that he'd given up until that point, and I think that's mainly because he seemed to be having fun on the film. And I do remember watching a making of, and he was always smiling and pissing about on set. There's a bit where he kind of like he has one of the pistols and he walks up and points the pistol in. I think it's the woman who plays Melina, waves it in her face and shits her up kind of thing. And so it looks like he was playing a few kind of jokes on set and all that kind of stuff. So, and I think that comes through in his performance.
Yeah, definitely.
So, this is definitely a 2 thumbs up from me. It's one of my favourite sci-fi movies, one of my favourite films, full stop. So I'd highly recommend this one to anyone who may be listening, and I think you should go and watch it right now if you haven't already done so. Okay, so that's it really. I think we should
episode 6 is in the bag.
Episode 6 is in the bag. I think we should wrap it up here because I'm up for work in around about 6 hours. What have we got for our next episode, Lee? This one's your pick.
This is my pick, and it's the 1985 Michael J. Fox film, Teen Wolf. Now, this is a personal childhood favourite of mine, so might go easy on it.
I'm not looking forward to this one.
You said it's been a while since you watched it.
It's been a hot minute since I've watched Teen Wolf. I did the last Teen Wolf I remember watching is like an episode of the TV show that they tried rebooting a couple of years back, and I was just kind of like, this is fucking dog shit.
I didn't bother with that at all. But there was a cartoon as well, which was I think it was like in the late 80s. I don't know if Michael J. Fox voiced anything in there, but yeah, it was more of a tie into the original film. I do remember catching a few episodes of that back in the day.
It rings a bell, but I can't remember all that much about it.
Yeah, because he also did a Back to the Future one, didn't he, as well, an animated one. Did I catch that one?
I don't think he did the voice in that, though.
No, I didn't do it. I don't know if not...
Because he used the sound alike in the Back to the Future game as well, didn't he? The Telltale's game that came out on the Xbox and that.
Well, I thought he did that.
It was a sound alike. But he sounds very much alike him. Like, really does sound like him.
Did they get Christopher Lloyd back for that, though?
Off the top of my head, mate, I don't know. Not sure. So this might be the first film that we fall out over and disagree, because I'm not a huge fan of Teen Wolf. I remember watching it as a kid, but I don't think this is going to be one of those films that I actually look back fondly on. But we'll see. We shall see. We'll see. Hopefully we won't fall out over it.
Chew the fat over it.
We'll chew the fat over it. I'll revisit it all I can promise is that I'm going to go back and rewatch it with an open mind. And it'll have to be very fucking open. But, yeah. Like you say, it's one of your favourites, so I'll try not to savage it too much, mate.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a childhood favourite, aren't they? From back then, you'll probably come up with something, and you just have that, maybe you turn around and said, I don't know, Battery's Not Included or something like that. Yeah, I do like it, but it's not one of my faves. You turn around and said that to me, or something, or let's think of another one then, a Mac and Me or something.
Mac and Me, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's safe to say I'm not going to be picking that one anytime soon. Next episode will be Teen Wolf. Hopefully you guys can get hold of a copy of Teen Wolf and get it watched before that releases. That should be out in about 2 weeks after you hear this one. Just want to say thank you very much to anyone who has taken the time to download and listen to the podcast. Your support is very, very much appreciated. If you're new to this podcast, or if this is the first one that you're listening to, then please go back and check out our previous episodes. You can find them on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean. We're on Spotify now. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us at the Untitled Film Podcast on Instagram. You can search for the Untitled Film Podcast on Facebook. We have a group on there. Or you can email us at untitledfilmpod@gmail.com if you have any comments or any requests for movies that you would like us to check out in the future. We would love to hear from you guys. So please like, subscribe, and share, and all that good stuff wherever you get your podcasts from. And until next time, have a fantastic couple of weeks.
Yeah, and get your ass to Mars. Watch what we got.
Get your ass to Mars.
Do it now.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.